Imagine that you change your Instagram handle to something like Keto Queen because you're diving deeply into the ketogenic diet space. Sure, it might work for a while if keto is your passion right now, but what happens if you decide to expand your expertise to plant-based eating, intuitive eating, where you suddenly fall in love with carbs again? Now, Keto Queen doesn't quite fit anymore. In fact, in my opinion, unless your name is incredibly long or really difficult to spell, I'd recommend using your name as your brand. For example, if your name is Jane Smith, something like @JaneSmithRDN works perfectly. Your name allows you to pivot without needing to rebrand every time your interests evolve. It also helps connect people with you. It's your umbrella under which everything else rests. Well, hey there. Welcome to Media Savvy, the podcast that gives you a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to get noticed by media and become the go-to expert that they keep coming back to. I'll be sitting down with successful writers, producers, and entrepreneurs to learn the tools and tactics they use to build their reputation and in turn boost their business. I'm your host, Taub-Dix, and I've been working with top-tier media outlets for more than 30 years, anywhere from traditional print publications to online and social platforms. And I'm sharing my nutrition guidance without gimmicks. But you don't have to be a dietitian for this podcast to speak to you. Through my one-to-one conversations, you'll learn how to build a strategy to get your name in the news and establish yourself as an authority in your field, no matter what the industry. With Media Savvy, I'm on a mission to inspire, motivate, and empower you to have the confidence and tools you need to shine in the spotlight. Are you ready? Let's get Media Savvy. Well, hey there. Welcome back to the Media Savvy podcast. I'm your host, Taub-Dix, and today we're unwrapping a topic that stirs up a lot of thought and conversation, not just in the nutrition world, but in all professions. The question is, should you niche down your business? And if so, how far might be too far? Now, I'll be the first to say that having a specialty, in other words, a niche, can absolutely set you apart from the crowd. But here's the twist. Niching down doesn't mean squeezing yourself into a box so small that you can't explore other opportunities or expand your horizons. In fact, some of the most successful people I know have a niche, but they keep the door open for other exciting possibilities. So, okay, let me kick off this episode by sharing a personal example. Media comes to me because I'm known as a nutrition expert. Over the years, I've built a reputation as someone they could count on for credible, thoughtful, insightful tips on all things nutrition and also health topics. But when it comes to nutrition, I am a generalist. Although I love to talk about the psychology of eating, I don't specialize in any particular area. Brands come to me to help communicate their messages to the public, whether it's through developing recipes or crafting compelling stories or consulting on campaigns or writing articles. But here's where it gets interesting. My niche isn't just nutrition. It's also, as you can tell by this podcast, working with media. That is why I created this podcast, Media Savvy, and my digital course, How to Work with Media and Make Media Work for You. Media is my specialty, aka my niche, because I understand how to make complex messages relatable and engaging for an audience, whether it's on TV, in a magazine, online, or in a social media campaign. Yet, if you asked the brands I collaborate with and the organizations I've spoken for, or even the private clients I coach, what is Bonnie's specialty? They'll likely tell you nutrition consulting. And they wouldn't be wrong. So the point I'm trying to make here is I've built my career by embracing both my niche and my broader opportunities within my field. My expertise in media enhances my ability to share nutrition messages effectively, and my depth of knowledge in nutrition gives me the ability to stand out in media. This duality has allowed me to pivot, evolve, and say yes to exciting opportunities that might not fit into a tightly defined niche. So when it comes to niching down, my story is proof that you don't have to be confined in one area. You could have a specialty that sets you apart while still keeping the door open for growth and diversity in your own work. It's about finding that sweet spot where your niche becomes a springboard, not a cage. It's also about finding that balance, and that's what we're going to be exploring today. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What does it actually mean to niche down? Thinking of it this way, your niche is your unique specialty, the area where your expertise and your passions intersect. In the nutrition world, for example, that might mean focusing on pediatric nutrition or sports performance, plant-based diets, or like me, specializing in talking about working with media. But our conversation will ring true for any field, not just for nutrition. For example, maybe you're in tech and you specialize in helping non-tech people understand the latest gadgets. I'd love help with that, by the way. Or perhaps you're in marketing, but your superpower is helping small businesses with eco-friendly products to build their brands. Or maybe your specialty is in making reels on Instagram and you want to teach others who have a lot to say, but they don't know how to say it creatively. Niching down is about carving out a corner of your field where you could shine the brightest. It's about being known for something specific. Okay, so far so good? So let's talk about the perks of having a niche, because there are many of them. When you specialize, you become the go-to expert. People know exactly what to come to you for. You become a trusted voice in your niche. And let's highlight that trust equals opportunities. Whether it's more clients, speaking gigs, or partnerships, expertise gets noticed. For example, if you're known for teaching parents how to feed picky toddlers, you might catch the eye of a baby food company or even land a feature in a parenting magazine. The same applies to other fields, but the go-to expert for a particular problem can make all the difference. You could also stand out from the competition when you have a niche. Having a niche reduces competition. Instead of trying to appeal to everyone and get lost in the noise, you're speaking directly to an ideal audience. In the nutrition world, the space is crowded, and general messages often get drowned out. But when your message is specific, it's like you're having a one-on-one conversation with people who you need the most, or actually who need you the most. That's powerful. It also simplifies your marketing. A clear niche makes your marketing much easier. When you know exactly who you're talking to, you could create content that resonates deeply with them. Your social media posts, your blog articles, or even podcasts can speak their language, address their challenges, and meet their needs. But, and this is a big but, it's possible to go too far. Over-niching can backfire. If your niche is too narrow, your potential audience could be so small that it's hard to sustain your business. Or worse, you might find yourself painted into a corner, unable to take advantage of new opportunities that fall outside of your ultra-specific area. Let's say you've branded yourself as the expert in gluten-free baking. You've built a reputation, created courses, and your audience knows you as the go-to person for all things gluten-free. Sounds amazing, right? But here's where it gets tricky. What happens if the gluten-free market starts to shift? Maybe it becomes oversaturated with competitors, or public interest wanes because of another trend, like grain-free or low-carb baking, and that takes center stage. Suddenly, your niche feels less like a highway and more like a cul-de-sac with no way out. Or maybe along the way, you discover a passion for teaching a broader audience about baking. Everything from sourdough to cookies to celebrate cakes. You've outgrown your niche, but your audience only sees you as the gluten-free person. Now pivoting feels like starting over because you've branded yourself so narrowly that people outside of your niche don't think to come to you for anything else. The lesson here? A niche should give you direction, not limitations. If you define your niche too rigidly, you'll risk boxing yourself in and losing the flexibility to evolve within your industry, and you also limit your own interests. You don't want your niche to trap you. You want it to launch you. So, how do you find the perfect balance? How do you niche down without niching yourself out? Here are a few tips that could guide you. First of all, start with market research. Look for the gaps in the market. What problems aren't being solved yet? What questions are your potential clients asking that no one else seems to be answering? What is your competition doing, and what can you do like them, but in a different way, in your own way? Do a little lurking on social media to read the comments. Read the comments on what experts in your field are getting. I'm not talking about just reading their content. I'm talking about reading the comments that they're getting on their posts. What are people asking them? Can you answer those questions? Competition shouldn't intimidate you. It should educate you. It should fire you up to do something similar, but in your own way. Align with your passions and your strengths. A niche should be something you love doing and something you're good at. If it feels forced, it won't be sustainable. Find the overlap between what excites you and what serves others. If you want to be known for something, let it be something you could be proud of, something that actually brings you joy. And also start small and then expand. Test the waters with your niche. You don't have to commit 100% right away. Start with one area, get a feel for the response, and allow yourself to grow as you learn more about what your audience needs. Let's talk about the danger of niching yourself down too much, especially when it comes to something as public as your Instagram name or your brand identity. Imagine that you change your Instagram handle to something like Keto Queen because you're diving deeply into the ketogenic diet space. Sure, it might work for a while if keto is your passion right now, but what happens if you decide to expand your expertise to plant-based eating, intuitive eating, or you suddenly fall in love with carbs again? Now, Keto Queen doesn't quite fit anymore. In fact, in my opinion, unless your name is incredibly long or really difficult to spell, I'd recommend using your name as your brand. For example, if your name is Jane Smith, something like @JaneSmithRDN works perfectly. Your name allows you to pivot without needing to rebrand every time your interests evolve. It also helps connect people with you, not just one part of your expertise. Remember, your niche should give you focus, but your name is your foundation. It's your umbrella under which everything else rests. Stay flexible. And yes, flexibility is key. As the market evolves, so should you. A good niche is specific enough to make you memorable, but broad enough to give you room to grow. Here's the takeaway. Niching down can be a game changer. It can help you establish authority, connect with your audience, and grow your business in a meaningful way. But it's not about shutting doors. It's about opening the right ones. So whether you're a dietitian, an entrepreneur, a coach, or any kind of professional at all, remember your niche should serve you as much as it serves your audience. And don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone to see where your expertise might take you. I said it once and it's worth repeating. You don't want your niche to trap you. You want it to launch you. Okay, so that's all my niching stories today. But I hope that you'll weigh in. I hope you'll get in touch with me. Let me know what you think, because I know that there are so many business coaches out there that talk about the importance of niching down and how it really is something that every professional should do so that they could really dive into their talents. I don't happen to agree with that, even though I do think that it's wonderful to have a specialty and let people know about your specialty and shine for your specialty. It doesn't mean that that is all that you're about. So let me know. I'd love for you to get in touch on my Instagram @BTD Media, or you could send me an email, mediasavvybtd@gmail.com. Just get in touch. It's hard to hide these days, so I know you could find me. But I would really love to hear your thoughts on this, especially if you're a business coach. I'm curious about what your strategies are and what kind of advice you give to people who want to or perhaps need to niche down a little further. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on the Media Savvy Podcast. I hope this episode gave you some clarity and inspiration for your own journey. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, you know how much I would love it if you would subscribe to my show, leave me a review, and of course, share this episode with a friend who might need a little nudge to find their niche. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram @BTD Media for more tips and behind the scenes content. Until the next time, Keep shining and making your mark in the unique way that you do. And by the way, you are looking mighty media savvy today. Signing off from Bonnie. Thank you so much.